This one is from the Arts Fundraising and Philanthropy Network. I put it up there somewhere. This funding is for £2,350, and that's for us to do a one-day project and 2 online sessions. So we're going to do a one-day we're doing that project just now to teach young people, young creatives, how to fundraise. So that's the project we're doing for one day. 20 people have already registered for that project. It's already fully booked. So, but the funding, has already come in. And the mode of this funding is they pay half first, and then when you're done, they reimburse you to pay you the full money. So if you're tired of your 9 to 5 and you know that naturally you're somebody that likes to do things to help their community, or maybe back home you were doing this already and now you're in the UK and you're saying to yourself, I don't want to go through this 9 to 5 thing. I don't want to do it. I want to do projects. So start a CIC. A CIC is a community interest company, and a CIC gives you access to funding. And this is not public funding. It's not like universal credit and all these things, so it's not public fund. It's not the fund where you are scared that, as an immigrant, I'm not eligible to public funds. This is not the type of public fund they're talking about. It's public money, but it's not public funds in the sense you know it. So it's for money for you to do good for the community, and there are bits of regulations around it. So you need to start. Now, I registered my CIC. I put in an application to Companies House on the 29th of March. That was like on a Saturday. And on a Tuesday, 1st of April, I got a confirmation that my CIC, Youth Visionaries CIC, has been registered. Now, I've heard people say, I've tried to register a CIC Zion, I've not been able to do it, it's coming back with unsuccessful. It's because either you're not filling the forms right, because it's not like a regular company that you're just going to go in and just fill anything you like. This, you have to fill the forms right. So I'm going to put it up there somewhere to show you when I registered and when I got the confirmation email that I have been successful. So start a CIC. But what is a CIC, and how do you start a community interest company? Now, if you're somebody that already loves to do good, now this is your thing. You already love to do projects, you already love to help the community, you have loads of ideas, but you are wondering, how do you make these ideas, how do you bring it to fruition, and how do you get the funding to do it? A CIC is your vehicle. Now, because there are complexities to starting a charity in the UK. So if you're in the UK, start a CIC. Now, what is a CIC? A CIC is a community interest company. It has a legal structure and it is designed for social good. Now, for a CIC, I suggest that you have 3 unrelated directors, right? So there are 7 steps, but I'm just giving you like a preamble, right? 3 unrelated directors. You need to register it in Companies House. But the legal binding for a CIC is that it has a community purpose. There are 2 mechanisms that protects, a CIC, right? The purpose of your CIC is protected by 2 mechanisms. One of them is the community interest. Now, there's something called the CIC regulator. A CIC, the regulations around starting CICs and how CICs came into existence was around 2005, So it's been around for a while, but people don't know that there's something called a CIC, which is a community interest company. Now, the community interest is the first legal binding to your purpose of starting, which is everything you do has to benefit the community. So you are a company, but you are a company that exists for community benefit. But you will get a decent pay, not £12 or £13 an hour. Decent pay. Some CIC founders get paid like maybe just to do the project that they got funding for, like maybe sometimes up to £300 a day if you get funding to do projects. And then you're a sessional worker for your CIC. So you get paid to do the projects, from the funding you got. So it's a decent way to make a living, and it's you doing good for community, but also you getting paid. The second thing that binds your CIC is your asset lock, a legal promise that your assets, your profit, everything about that company, which is your CIC, is going to go to somebody else that would use it for community benefit in case anything happens to the CIC. For me, when we registered our CIC, the asset log for us was NSPCC. That's the asset log that we use. So in case anything happens to our CIC, everything about the CIC will be handed over to that, organization. So these are two things that binds you: your community interest test and your asset log. So now the second step, if you're going to set up your CIC, is to choose the form in which your CIC will exist. Now your CIC can be limited by guarantee or it can be limited by shares. Now you need to understand this very carefully. If not, you would not get funding. A lot of people that have their CICs limited by shares, they don't get a lot of funding because the funders are very, they're very skeptical when your CIC is limited by shares. Limited by shares means you take a profit, right? Limited by guarantee means, listen, there are no shareholders. It's only members who can guarantee a nominal sum of like £1, right? Profit you make in your CIC must be reinvested for community benefit. That's the one that is limited by guarantee. So you can either have a CIC registered in the form of that is limited by guarantee or that is limited by shares. But I often, as a consultant, advise people registering their CICs to register that is limited by guarantee. In that, the funders are people that will give you funding are more certain that you will do good with the funding because you're not looking to take any profit from it. Only what you're looking to take from the funding you get is the work that you do for the CIC that the CIC will pay you for. And with that, I will also tell you how to do it, right? So that's the second step. So please, if you're going to register, have the form that is limited by guarantee, not by shares. So now, step 3 in setting up your CIC is to draft your articles of association. Now, this is where most people miss it. Some people are too vague when they write the articles of association. Some people write articles of association that if you look at it, you will not even approve the company at all. Now, the articles of association must be specific to the community. And I say this because let's say, I stay in Milton Keynes, right? You don't just say you want to help people in Buckinghamshire. Buckinghamshire is the wider area. The articles of association must be clearly written such that it is like a community interest statement. What does your CIC exist to do? Be very specific. For me and my CIC, when myself and my founders were writing it, is that we exist to support unemployed young people in Milton Keynes so that they can step into work. We're not just saying we exist to help the community. No, who are the target group of people you want to help, and then which community immediate is that going to benefit, and then you can then add and the wider area of whatever the community you stay. For me, I said to help unemployed young people get into work in Milton Keynes, and then wider Buckinghamshire. But the specific one was Milton Keynes. So it's important to understand that, right? Now, if you're drafting your articles of association also, you need to have an asset log, which I've talked about before, right? The clause that, stops anyone from stripping the value out of the CIC, it's going to specifically say that the profit must be used for community benefit. So 2 things must be watertight for you: your community interest statement and your asset log. So another thing you need to do is to fill what we call the form CIC 36. Now the form CIC 36 you can find that online, but you need to know how to fill it right? So the form CIC 36 is a form that you must fill if you're going to start your community interest company. Now, I think where people have problems is knowing what to fill. And ChatGPT will not help you if you already don't know certain things about the CIC. You just think, I'm going to put it on ChatGPT and it's going to help me. You're going to get rejected. So it's important you know what to fill in that your form 36 so that you don't get rejected, right? So the 4th step, if you're going to apply for your community interest company and then start getting grants, and you can get grants the first month. I'm telling you, although we say, how do you, I teach people how to start a fundable CIC that gets funding at least in 4 months. But if you're very good, if you're very detailed, if you can put in the work, you can get your first grant in the first month. I got the first grant in the first month of starting that CIC. We got a grant from MECO. They gave us a contribution of £1,500 to our project for asylum seekers. So it's important to understand that funding is only waiting for you to properly start. Remember, it has to be a fundable CIC. Okay, so the next step is for you to apply to Companies House, right? Now, you need to apply. I think it's about £65 to apply to Companies House for them to. So if you already have your articles of association, your form CIC 36 all properly done, then you apply to Companies House and fill in the forms, and then upload your articles of association already signed by like 3 unrelated directors. And then people say start with one. Start with yourself and then have the unrelated directors later. But I really say start with find yourself and 2 people that are unrelated to you, and you guys come together and start. But this is your thing, right? But you just need them so that it shows that the company that you're starting for the community, other people are there and you want to do it for community benefit. So apply to Companies House. So when you apply to Companies House, there are 2 forms obviously you have to fill. One of them is called IN01. That's the online Companies House form, I think, Totally, you're going to spend like £65 anyways, and then you're going to submit your community interest statement, which is your CIC 36 form I was talking about, right? And then you're also going to pay the fee. Normally, I'm telling you, community interest companies registration takes like maybe 3 to 4 weeks, certain times, if you don't do it right. But if you do it right, it will take you 2 days. It took me 2 days. 2 days. 2 days. I registered and it took me 2 days for it to get approved. So you need to understand that getting approved is very, very important. Now, don't confuse the paperwork with proof. Incorporation is just the start. Once you've incorporated it, you've gotten your certificate, and then now you are a CIC, right? It just shows that you've been incorporated. Credibility takes time. And what we're trying to do with the CIC is to be credible. You understand? So that's why we're saying at least it will take you 4 months to get your first funding. But if you do it right, it will take you 1 month. So if you're going to be fundable, the next thing you want to do is to open an account. Now you've already gotten your thing from Companies House. Open an account. And funders hate it when you are the only person that is in control of the money. You have to have that 3 people I'm talking about, yourself and 2 other people that are unrelated directors. All of them must be directors, so you can't be the only director in the CIC. You have to have 2 people that will join you to be directors. All of you are directors. And if you're applying for a bank account with that 3 unrelated directors, then that helps you guys, right? And if you apply for funding, they would easily fund you if you have yourself and 2 other unrelated directors in your CIC. So the CIC that gets funding is the CIC that starts properly, the CIC that has 3 unrelated directors, and the CIC that has a clear community interest statement. So it's very important that you know what you want to do clearly, who you want to support, and you do the bank account right, and you also do your forms with Companies House right, because funders will tell you to upload your articles of association. Most funders want to see everything. So if you are applying for funding and then you think that they will not check all these things, you're lying. So do it right. So the step 6 will be for you to then do all the tax things, and then step 7 will be for you to file your first CIC report. But you're not there yet. It takes 1 year to file your CIC report, And when you're filing your CIC report, I suggest that you file, your account statement, and then you get an auditor to audit what you've done, because audited account helps you get more funding. So if your CIC is going to be fundable, this is how you start a CIC. If you have any problems at all and you're saying, Zion, I want you to help me, because what I do is I help people that want to start their CICs. I can consult with you to help you start it, to fill all these forms properly, and then I can also join you in the first 4 months to apply for at least 2 funding opportunities that your CIC will get, and I can give you access to at least 50 funding that is available to new CICs that you might not be able to see anywhere on the web, So if you want to book a consultation session with me, do just drop a comment, and definitely, or come to my DM, or fill the waiting link for my consultation session, and definitely I'll get back to you. You don't want to start a CIC. You want to start a fundable CIC that will do a lot of the work for you, right? So let's get that ball rolling and let's get you there. Let's start it right. So reach out to me if you need to do consultation, and we'll get you booked in and we'll work with you and see that you get your first funding for your CIC. My name is Zion and I'm just here to help you get funding that you need to do the work that you already love. And the CIC is your great vehicle to get this done.